March 23rd is not an ordinary date on a calendar. This is not just another evening fading into night. There is a weight in the spirit attached to this specific day, a divine urgency that cannot be ignored. Tonight carries a spiritual deadline. Before this day ends, something monumental is shifting in your destiny. And this is not symbolic language. This is a prophetic alert. There are moments in life that repeat, and then there are moments that define everything that comes after. March 23rd is the latter. The atmosphere is charged because a door connected to your future is standing open right now, but it is not staying open. Archangel Michael steps forward in this hour not with comfort alone, but with warning. His message is direct, unwavering, and urgent. There is a final opportunity before tonight ends. The window is narrow. The clock is moving. And what is at stake is not small. It is not temporary. It is not replaceable. It is a door tied to your destiny, your calling, your next season, your divine alignment. And once this door closes, it does not reopen. Some opportunities cycle back around. Some lessons repeat. But certain doors in the spirit are designed to open only once. They are tied to obedience within a specific time frame. Miss the moment, and the pathway alters permanently. You may have sensed something unusual about today. A restlessness, a stirring, a pressure that feels different from ordinary stress. That is not random emotion. That is the weight of divine timing pressing against your spirit. Heaven operates on appointed times. There are seasons of preparation, and then there are moments of decision. Preparation can take years. Decision can take seconds. But those seconds determine years ahead. Tonight is a decision moment. Imagine a massive door slowly beginning to close. At first, the movement is almost unnoticeable. It feels like there is still time. You tell yourself you will act later. You tell yourself you need to think more, pray more, wait a little longer. But what you do not see is that the hinges are already turning. The sound is subtle. The shift is quiet. And suddenly, the space that was wide open becomes narrow, then narrower, then nearly sealed. This is what Archangel Michael is revealing. The door connected to your destiny is not slamming shut in chaos. It is closing steadily, intentionally, according to divine order. Why is this important? Because destiny is not automatic. Calling is not forced upon you. God opens doors, but He does not drag you through them. There are divine opportunities that require your agreement, your movement, your yes. And tonight, before the clock crosses into tomorrow, a response is required. This is not about fear. It is about awareness. It is about recognizing that heaven is offering something that will not always be available. There are rare revelations that only come in moments like this. One of them is this. Some doors are tied to a specific alignment of time, obedience, and spiritual readiness. When those three align, the door opens. But if hesitation replaces obedience, the alignment dissolves. It is not punishment. It is principle. The opportunity moves forward with those who respond. And those who delay must wait for another season, one that may not carry the same weight, the same blessing, or the same acceleration. Archangel Michael is not speaking casually. He stands as a guardian at thresholds. In scripture and in prophetic encounters, he appears at moments of transition, at turning points that shift the course of nations and individuals. And now, his presence signals that you are standing at such a threshold. The message is clear. This is the final opportunity before tonight ends. The gravity of it must be felt. You may be asking, what exactly is this door? That answer will unfold. But understand this first. It is deeply personal. It is connected to your destiny. For some, it is a step of obedience you have been postponing. For others, it is a decision you know you must make but have delayed out of comfort or fear. For some, it is releasing something that has held you back. For others, it is stepping into something that feels bigger than you. Whatever it is, you already sense it. This message is not introducing something new. It is confirming what has been stirring within you. The urgency is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to awaken you. When heaven marks a day, it is because the day carries consequence. March 23rd is marked. Before tonight ends, you are being invited to respond. The door is open now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. This is why the warning is strong. Miss this, and it never reopens. There will be other blessings, other paths, other opportunities. But this specific alignment, this specific acceleration, this specific doorway tied to this moment will not return in the same form. Destiny is layered with mercy, but it is also governed by timing. To listen closely. Feel the weight of this hour. Recognize that you are not watching this by accident. You were positioned to hear this before the day closes. The question is not whether the door exists. The question is whether you will move before it shuts. Tonight, heaven is watching your response. And what you do before midnight could echo through the rest of your life. There is a reason this opportunity is being called final. Heaven does not use that word lightly. When Archangel Michael declares that this window is narrow, it is because the alignment surrounding this moment is precise, intentional, and time-sensitive. This is not about emotional urgency. This is about spiritual law. There are divine appointments written into your life long before you recognize them. These appointments are not random chances. They are intersections where preparation meets permission. And when that intersection arrives, the window does not remain open indefinitely. What makes this opportunity different is that it is tied to timing that cannot be duplicated. You may ask, why can't it simply reopen later? Because destiny unfolds in layers, and each layer builds upon the last. If one layer is skipped, the structure changes. Heaven moves forward with those who respond. The spiritual realm does not freeze itself while someone debates obedience. The river of God continues flowing. And when you step in at the appointed time, you are carried by its current. But if you hesitate, the current moves ahead without you, and re-entry becomes more difficult, sometimes impossible in the same form. Archangel Michael's warning is not about punishment. It is about precision. Divine timing operates differently than human timing. Humans believe there is always tomorrow. Heaven works within appointed moments. Tonight is one of those moments. The narrowness of this window is not meant to scare you, but to awaken you to the seriousness of alignment. When the Spirit signals urgency, it is because something has reached fullness. Preparation has matured. Circumstances have aligned. The unseen battles that once blocked you have shifted. The door is open now because conditions are complete. But conditions do not stay complete forever. Distractions are the enemy's greatest strategy in moments like this. Notice how, on significant days, interruptions increase. Doubts grow louder. Fatigue feels heavier. Unexpected concerns surface. This is not coincidence. When a door connected to destiny begins to open, resistance intensifies. The goal of that resistance is not always to destroy you. Often, it is simply to delay you. Delay is enough to cause a missed window. If the enemy cannot close the door himself, he will try to convince you that you have more time than you actually do. That is why this message found you today. Out of countless voices, countless videos, countless distractions, you are here listening to this warning on March 23rd. That is not accidental positioning. That is divine intersection. You were chosen to hear this because heaven refuses to let you miss the moment without clarity. There are many who will sleep through this night unaware that a door stood open for them. But you are not unaware. You have been alerted. And with awareness comes responsibility. There are signs that confirm you were meant to receive this message. A persistent inner nudge you have tried to silence. A decision you know you need to make but keep postponing. A step of faith that feels risky yet necessary. A release you know must happen but have delayed out of attachment. These are not random thoughts. They are signals. Heaven speaks repeatedly before a window closes. The fact that this message feels personal is confirmation that it is. When people delay divine instructions, the consequences are often subtle at first. Nothing dramatic happens immediately. Life appears normal. But over time, they begin to sense something missing. A momentum that never fully arrives. A breakthrough that almost happened but did not. A peace that could have been secured but remains distant. That is the quiet result of mistiming. Not destruction but diminishing potential. And Archangel Michael's warning exists to prevent that from becoming your story. You must understand, this is not pressure from man. This is invitation from heaven. But invitation has an expiration. The narrowness of this window is evidence that what stands before you is valuable. Doors that stay open forever are rarely significant. The rare doors, the destiny-altering doors, the ones that shift generations, are often available for a brief and defined moment. Right now, you are standing at that moment. And as you listen, something inside you is confirming it. Do not ignore that confirmation. Do not rationalize it away. If this message is resonating with your spirit, respond to it actively. Engage with it. Declare your agreement in the comments. Let your faith take action. Like this message as a sign that you refuse to miss what God is opening. Share it with someone who may also be standing before a closing door. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do it now, because these prophetic alerts are not random uploads. They are timely warnings meant to position you correctly in critical hours. When you interact, when you comment, when you declare your readiness, you are not just supporting a channel, you are making a spiritual statement that you will not remain passive in moments that demand response. The window is narrow because destiny is precise. The warning is strong because the opportunity is rare. And the time is limited because alignment does not wait indefinitely. March 23rd is moving forward minute by minute. The question is no longer whether the door exists. The question is whether you will move before the narrowing becomes final. The destiny door being revealed tonight is not a random opportunity. It is not a small adjustment or a minor improvement. This door represents access. Access to a level you have not walked in before. Access to authority you have not fully embraced. Access to a version of your life that has been waiting on your agreement. When Archangel Michael speaks of a door closing, he is not describing wood and hinges. He is describing transition. He is describing movement from one realm of living into another. And the reason this feels so intense is because you instinctively know that what stands before you is significant. For some of you, this door represents a calling you have delayed. You have felt the pull toward something greater. Ministry, leadership, creativity, service. But fear of inadequacy has kept you standing still. You have questioned whether you are ready. You have compared yourself to others. You have told yourself that one day, when you feel more confident, you will step forward. But destiny does not wait for comfort. It waits for courage. And tonight, the door representing your calling is open. Not when you feel perfect. Not when every doubt disappears. Doubt. For others, this door represents a relationship decision. It may be stepping away from something that has drained your purpose. It may be stepping toward someone or something that aligns with your future but feels unfamiliar. Doors often require release before entrance. You cannot walk through a new threshold while holding tightly to the old one. And that release is what has felt heavy. You have sensed that something must end so that something greater can begin. The hesitation you feel is not confusion. It is attachment. And attachment is often the final barrier before destiny unfolds. For some, this door represents financial obedience or stewardship, a step of faith and generosity, a decision to handle resources differently, a risk that feels uncomfortable but necessary. Provision follows alignment, but alignment requires action. When heaven opens a financial door, it is rarely just about money. It is about trust. It is about demonstrating that your security is rooted in God's instruction rather than visible stability. That step you keep postponing may be the very key connected to this closing door. And then there are those for whom this door represents spiritual authority. You have lived beneath the level of power available to you. You have tolerated cycles that should have ended seasons ago. You have allowed doubt to silence your voice. But tonight, Archangel Michael stands at a threshold of authority. The door before you is an invitation to rise, to pray differently, to declare boldly, to walk with confidence instead of hesitation. Authority is not seized by force. It is accepted through agreement. If you refuse to accept it, the door closes, and the opportunity to step into that dimension of influence fades. Doors in prophetic revelation always symbolize transition. Throughout Scripture, doors mark shifts into safety, into assignment, into promise. But every door also implies a choice. You either walk through it or remain where you are. And remaining where you are is also a decision. There is no neutral ground at a threshold. Standing still too long eventually becomes stepping back. Archangel Michael's message about readiness is clear. Readiness is not the absence of fear. It is the presence of obedience despite fear. Many believe they must feel completely prepared before stepping forward. But destiny moments often arrive when you still feel stretched. The stretching is proof that growth is occurring. If the door did not intimidate you, it would not elevate you. The size of the opportunity reflects the size of your next season. Hesitation, however, has consequences, not because God is harsh, but because timing is real. When you hesitate long enough, the spiritual alignment that created the opening shifts. Other events unfold. Other timelines activate. And what was once accessible becomes memory. That is why this is personal. This is not about someone else's door. It is about yours. The reason this message feels direct is because it is addressing a decision already forming in your heart. You may feel emotion rising as you listen. That is confirmation. The Spirit highlights what matters. If nothing were at stake, you would feel nothing. But you feel the weight because you recognize the truth. This is your threshold. This is your moment. The door is not theoretical. It is real. It stands before you in the form of a decision you can no longer postpone without consequence. And here is what you must understand. The closing of this door is not meant to create panic, but clarity. Clarity that you cannot live indefinitely in preparation mode. Clarity that at some point, you must step. The longer you delay, the heavier the atmosphere becomes. The urgency you sense is not pressure to rush blindly. It is pressure to move decisively. In a few moments, we are going to uncover what happens spiritually when someone chooses to walk through a closing door at the final hour. What shifts it? What breaks? What accelerates? But before that revelation unfolds, you must settle this in your heart. This door represents your next level, and it requires your yes tonight. Hold on to that thought, because what comes next will reveal why the resistance around you has been so intense and why this decision carries more weight than you realized. Type "My door is open" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 318 is now activated. As you stand before this destiny door, understand this: every message you hear on this channel is a key placed into someone's trembling hands. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not giving to a platform. You are opening doors for souls who are one step away from breakthrough. Scripture declares, "As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest shall not cease," and tonight God is speaking that over you personally. The seed you release becomes light in someone else's darkness. I feel led to say this clearly: your obedience in giving tonight is tied to the very doors we are speaking about. Do not let this moment pass as ordinary. Act prophetically. Sow into the harvest of transformed lives through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen. Step into this flow now. What you are experiencing today is not just internal hesitation. It is not random pressure. It is not ordinary distraction. There is a silent battle unfolding around you right now, and most of it is happening beneath the surface. Archangel Michael's presence at this threshold is not symbolic decoration. It is strategic positioning. Whenever a destiny door begins to close, spiritual resistance intensifies, not because you are weak, but because what you carry is valuable. Have you noticed how the closer you get to making a decisive move, the heavier everything feels? Small problems suddenly seem larger. Minor doubts grow louder. Fatigue presses in at unusual levels. Conversations become complicated. Unexpected emotions rise to the surface. This is not coincidence. Pressure increases before promotion. Resistance grows before release. The atmosphere tightens when something significant is about to shift. The silent battle is not always dramatic. It does not always look like chaos. Sometimes it looks like confusion. Sometimes it looks like procrastination disguised as wisdom. Sometimes it feels like an overwhelming need to wait just a little longer. But delay is often the most subtle weapon used against destiny. The enemy understands that if he cannot destroy your purpose, he can attempt to stall it. And if he can stall it long enough, the window narrows until it closes. Archangel Michael stands as a warrior at thresholds. His role in moments like this is not passive observation. It is defense and declaration. Where there is divine movement, there is often spiritual opposition. Not because the opposition is stronger, but because it recognizes the impact of your obedience. The decision you are facing may seem personal, even private, but the ripple effect of that decision extends beyond what you can see. Your obedience affects timelines, influences people you have not yet met, and unlocks doors connected to others' breakthroughs. That is why resistance intensifies when you approach alignment. Think about the patterns in your life. How many times have you felt ready to step forward, only to be interrupted? How many times has clarity come, only to be clouded by sudden doubt? This pattern is not random weakness. It is evidence of contention over your progress. When you are about to cross into a new level, there is often a final wave of opposition designed to test your resolve. Not to defeat you, but to reveal whether you will move despite discomfort. The battle today is subtle but strategic. It whispers, You have more time. It suggests you should wait until conditions are perfect. It convinces you that urgency is unnecessary. But here is the truth. Conditions are rarely perfect at destiny thresholds. If you wait for perfect peace before stepping, you may wait forever. Peace often comes after obedience and not before it. You must also understand that spiritual passivity carries a cost. Standing still at a threshold is not neutral. It gradually weakens conviction. The longer you linger without action, the more normal hesitation becomes. What once felt urgent begins to feel optional. What once stirred your spirit begins to fade. That fading is not because the opportunity was insignificant. It is because you allowed time to erode clarity. And time, when mismanaged, can quietly close what heaven once opened. Right now, there is a battle over your focus. Distraction is increasing because distraction divides attention. Divided attention weakens decisiveness, and weakened decisiveness delays action. The silent battle is targeting your clarity. If your vision becomes blurred, your movement slows. That is why you must guard your mind tonight. Limit the voices speaking into your decision. Reduce the noise. Recognize that not every opinion deserves access to the sacred moment. Archangel Michael's positioning at this door is reassurance. You are not alone in this battle. The pressure you feel is evidence that something real is shifting. If this were an ordinary day with no consequence, there would be no resistance. The intensity is confirmation of significance. The friction you feel is proof that movement is near. There is also another layer to this battle: internal doubt. Sometimes the loudest opposition is not external but internal. Thoughts like, who am I to step into this? Or what if I fail? Or what if I misunderstand? These thoughts attempt to shrink you back into familiarity. But familiarity is often the prison that keeps destiny contained. Growth requires discomfort. Expansion requires courage. And courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in spite of it. Tonight, you must make a conscious choice not to interpret pressure as a stop sign. Pressure at a threshold is often confirmation that the door matters. Instead of retreating, lean forward. Instead of questioning your worthiness, remember that the door would not be open if you were unqualified. Heaven does not accidentally position people at destiny gates. The silent battle happening today is real, but it is not unbeatable. Awareness is your advantage. Once you recognize that resistance is connected to significance, you stop being surprised by it. You stop interpreting it as failure. You begin to see it as the final test before transition. The door is still open. The battle is active, and your decision will determine which force gains ground. The question is not whether opposition exists. It does. The question is whether you will allow that opposition to intimidate you into inaction, or whether you will move anyway, knowing that the presence of resistance confirms the presence of purpose. In moments like this, when a destiny door is slowly closing and spiritual resistance is rising, there is one thing that becomes more critical than anything else: the voice you choose to follow. Not every voice speaking into your mind right now is divine. Not every thought deserves your agreement, and not every feeling reflects truth. When Archangel Michael reveals urgency, it is because heaven is speaking clearly, but clarity can be drowned out if you are not careful. There is a voice that hath been nudging you repeatedly. It does not shout. It does not force. It does not manipulate. It speaks with a steady conviction that returns even after you try to silence it. That is the voice you must not ignore. It may have been whispering to you for weeks, perhaps even months. It has shown up in quiet moments, in prayer, in reflection, in conversations that unexpectedly confirm what you already sensed. That voice carries peace, even when it calls you to something uncomfortable. Then there is another voice. This one is louder. It argues. It lists risk. It magnifies uncertainty. It tells you to wait until everything feels safer. It presents logic that seems reasonable but leaves you restless. This voice often disguises itself as wisdom. But true wisdom aligns with obedience, not avoidance. Fear often masks itself as prudence. And if you are not discerning, you can mistake hesitation for maturity. God confirms urgency in patterns. When He is calling you to move, confirmation does not come once and disappear. It repeats. It echoes. It surfaces in different ways until you can no longer dismiss it as coincidence. You may have noticed recurring themes lately. The same message appearing in different forms. The same idea surfacing through unrelated sources. The same conviction rising in your spirit no matter how many times you try to redirect your focus. That repetition is not accidental. It is confirmation. Archangel Michael's warning aligns with that confirmation. The narrowing window you are sensing is not emotional pressure. It is divine timing intersecting with personal responsibility. When God speaks about timing, He does not always provide extended explanations. He provides instruction, and instruction requires trust. If you wait to understand every detail before obeying, you may miss the moment entirely. The difference between wisdom and delay is subtle but powerful. Wisdom listens carefully and then moves with clarity. Delay listens carefully and then continues analyzing until clarity fades. Wisdom seeks counsel but does not hide behind it. Delay seeks endless opinions to avoid committing. Wisdom recognizes that peace sometimes follows obedience. Delay demands peace before obedience. You must ask yourself honestly, are you being wise or are you postponing? The voice you must not ignore is consistent with the character of God. It does not condemn you, but it does challenge you. It does not shame you, but it stretches you. It does not rush you recklessly, but it does call you forward decisively. When you imagine saying yes to this step, even if it feels intimidating, there is a quiet steadiness beneath the fear. That steadiness is the signature of divine leading. Why did this message find you specifically? Because heaven knows when repetition is no longer enough. Sometimes confirmation must become confrontation. Not confrontation in anger, but confrontation in urgency. This is that moment. You have heard the whisper. You have felt the nudge. You have recognized the stirring. Now the warning makes it clear. This door will not remain open indefinitely. There is also a deeper layer to this voice. It is connected to identity. The hesitation you feel may not just be about the action required. It may be about who you must become in order to walk through the door. Growth demands transformation. If you step forward, you cannot remain the same version of yourself. And that realization can be unsettling. Familiarity feels safe, even when it limits you. But the voice calling you forward knows your true capacity. It speaks from a perspective beyond your current comfort zone. You may wonder, what if I misinterpret this? What if I move and it is not God? Understand this. When your heart is sincerely seeking alignment, God is faithful to guide you. The greater danger is not moving imperfectly. It is refusing to move at all. God can redirect a moving person. He cannot redirect someone who refuses to step. Silencing the wrong voices tonight is essential. Turn down the noise of comparison. Turn down the echo of past failures. Turn down the predictions of those who do not see what you see. Instead, amplify the quiet conviction that keeps returning. The voice you must not ignore will not pressure you with panic. that will press you with purpose. As March 23rd moves toward its final hours, clarity must replace confusion. You know what this door represents in your life. You know what step has been hovering in your thoughts. You know the conversation you need to have, the release you need to make, the commitment you need to embrace. The longer you pretend uncertainty, the heavier it will feel. But the moment you acknowledge the truth, strength will rise. Archangel Michael's warning is not introducing something new. It is confirming what has already been spoken to your spirit. The question now is simple but profound. Will you obey the voice that aligns with peace and purpose, or will you continue entertaining the voice that feeds hesitation? Tonight, discernment is everything. The door remains open for now. The whisper is still clear, but time is advancing, and the voice you choose to follow will determine whether you walk into your next season or watch it close from the outside. Here is a truth that many avoid because it feels uncomfortable. Some moments do not return. We like to believe that life always gives second chances in the same form, that doors reopen exactly as they were, that opportunities patiently wait for us to feel ready. But destiny does not always operate that way. When Archangel Michael warns that this door will never reopen if missed, it is not dramatic language. It is a revelation about how divine timing works. If you miss this moment, the world does not collapse overnight. The sun will rise tomorrow. Life will continue. Responsibilities will remain. But something subtle shifts beneath the surface. The alignment that once positioned you at this threshold will move forward without you. Heaven will continue its plans, but your role in this particular chapter may be altered, and that alteration can echo longer than you expect. Throughout biblical history, there were individuals who stood before destiny doors and hesitated. Their stories are not recorded to shame them but to teach us. When a moment of obedience arrives, delay can redirect the outcome. The promised land was real, but an entire generation wandered because they hesitated at the edge of belief. The opportunity did not disappear, but their participation in it changed. Timing matters. Response matters. When you miss a divine moment, the first consequence is internal. Regret does not always appear immediately, but over time it whispers. You begin to wonder what might have happened if you had stepped forward. You replay the decision in your mind. You recognize that fear influences you more than faith. And even if other blessings come, there remains a quiet awareness that something specific was left untouched. The second consequence is momentum loss. Destiny builds upon decisive steps. Each act of obedience strengthens spiritual confidence. But when you shrink back, confidence weakens. The next opportunity feels harder, not easier. Doubt gains ground. You become more cautious, more hesitant, more analytical. What could have been a season of acceleration turns into a season of rebuilding courage. There is also the reality of spiritual desensitization. The first time you ignore a divine nudge, it feels heavy. The second time, it feels slightly less intense. Over time, you can become accustomed to postponing obedience. What once stirred you deeply begins to feel ordinary. That is not because God stops speaking. It is because repeated hesitation dulls sensitivity, and the dulled spirit struggles to recognize future doors even when they open. When Archangel Michael says, "Miss this and it never reopens," he is emphasizing specificity. This exact alignment of timing, preparation, relationships, and spiritual readiness will not duplicate itself in the same way. God is merciful, but seasons change. People move. Circumstances evolve. What is available tonight is available because multiple factors have converged at once. If you let it pass, those factors will rearrange. Imagine standing outside a door that was once open, knowing you had the chance to walk through it. Imagine watching someone else step into a role, a blessing, or an assignment that once stirred your heart. Not because it was stolen from you, but because you declined to move when invited. That realization carries a unique kind of ache. Not the pain of failure, but the pain of forfeiture. This is not meant to create fear-driven obedience. It is meant to create clarity. There is a difference between acting out of panic and acting out of conviction. Panic rushes blindly. Conviction moves deliberately. Right now, you are not being asked to leap without awareness. You are being asked to respond to something you already know is true. If you miss this moment, life will continue, but the version of your life that could have unfolded from this step will remain unexplored. There will be other doors, but they may lead to different rooms. They may carry different levels of influence, impact, or growth. Destiny is layered, and each layer builds upon previous choices. One missed layer can alter the structure. The phrase "it never reopens" also speaks to spiritual trust. When God entrusts you with a moment and you decline it, He does not stop loving you. But trust grows through response. Each yes strengthens alignment. Each no delays expansion. Over time, consistent hesitation can limit the assignments entrusted to you. Not because you are rejected, but because stewardship requires reliability. Consider the weight of that. Tonight is not only about opportunity, it is about trust. Heaven is watching your response. Will you handle this moment with courage? Will you honor the urgency placed before you? Or will you allow comfort to outweigh calling? There is still time. The door has not yet closed. The warning exists precisely because the opportunity remains. But the narrowing is real. The consequence of inaction is not instant destruction. It is gradual redirection. And redirection away from destiny can feel subtle at first, but significant over time. You are being given awareness so that regret does not become your companion later. You are being given clarity so that momentum is not lost. You are being given urgency so that sensitivity is preserved. What happens if you miss this moment is not catastrophe. It is a quieter, slower drift away from what could have been. The choice is before you now. The outcome is not predetermined. The door remains open in this hour. But understand the seriousness. Once this alignment passes, it does not cycle back in the same form. As the hours of March 23rd continue to slip away, the atmosphere is shifting. You can feel it. Here is a tightening, a sharpening, a sense that something is approaching its final call. The door has not yet closed, but it is no longer standing wide open without resistance. This is the hour that requires courage. Not tomorrow morning. Not next week. Before midnight. Courage is often misunderstood. Many think courage means the absence of fear. It does not. Courage is movement in the presence of fear. It is choosing obedience while your hands still tremble. It is stepping forward while uncertainty still whispers in your ear. And tonight, the courage required of you is not loud or dramatic. It is deliberate. Archangel Michael's message is not asking you to feel invincible. It is asking you to act decisively. The final stretch before a door closes is always the most intense. This is when doubt tries one last time to negotiate. This is when comfort attempts to persuade you to wait. This is when logic begins to overanalyze every possible outcome. But destiny rarely unfolds for those who demand guarantees. Before midnight represents more than a time on a clock. It symbolizes the edge of a season. It represents the boundary between what has been and what could be. Once the clock crosses that invisible line, something shifts. The opportunity attached to this day belongs to this day. And courage is the bridge that carries you across the threshold before the moment expires. There is a bold step being urged right now. You already know what it is. It may be a conversation you must initiate. It may be a commitment you must finally make. It may be an application, a release, a prayer, a declaration, or a decision you have postponed repeatedly. The step itself may seem simple, but its impact is profound. Many destiny shifts begin with one quiet act of bravery. Procrastination is often spiritualized as patience. But patience waits on God. Procrastination waits on comfort. And comfort has kept many standing outside doors that were meant to transform their lives. If you are honest, you know whether you have been patient or hesitant. Courage requires honesty first. You must admit that delay has not brought clarity. It has prolonged tension. Faith under pressure reveals what you truly believe. It is easy to declare trust when no action is required. It is different when obedience costs something. Courage costs comfort. It costs predictability. It sometimes costs reputation. But what it produces is alignment, growth, and acceleration. The door before you is not meant to keep you where you are. It is meant to stretch you into who you are becoming. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder that courage is supported by heaven. You are not being asked to move alone. The unseen realm is aware of your decision. The battle described earlier is real, but so is the reinforcement available to you. When you choose obedience, strength meets you in motion. Many wait to feel strong before acting, but strength often arrives after you take the first step. There is also a breaking that must happen tonight, the breaking of agreement with fear. Fear thrives in indecision. It grows stronger when entertained repeatedly. But the moment you declare, "I will move," fear begins to lose its grip. It may still whisper, but it no longer controls. Courage does not silence fear completely. It removes its authority. Before midnight, you must make peace with imperfection. You may not have every answer. You may not see the full path beyond the door. But you do not need full visibility to take the next step. Destiny is revealed progressively. If you demand to see the entire staircase before stepping onto the first stair, you will remain where you are. Courage trusts that the next step is enough for now. There is urgency in this hour because the clock does not pause for hesitation. Each passing minute reduces the margin. The door is still open, but the space is narrowing. And the narrowing is not symbolic. It is real. This is the final stretch where many either break through or back away. You must ask yourself, will you let this night end with regret, or will you let it end with resolution? Courage transforms nights of tension into nights of transition. When you act before midnight, you cross into the next day differently. You wake up aligned instead of conflicted. You wake up having honored the call instead of silenced it. The bold step Archangel Michael is urging may feel uncomfortable, but it is not reckless. It is intentional. It is necessary. And it is time-sensitive. The courage required is not for next month. It is for this hour. You have stood at this threshold long enough. The warnings have been clear. The signs have been repeated. The battle has exposed the value of what lies ahead. Now it comes down to this. Will you move before the door narrows beyond reach? Courage is not about feeling ready. It is about recognizing that the moment will not wait. The final hours of March 23rd are unfolding. And the strength to act is available, but it must be chosen. There is something powerful that happens the moment you choose obedience. It is not always visible immediately, but it is undeniable in the spirit. When you step through a narrowing door before it closes, when you act before midnight instead of hesitating, a supernatural shift begins. The atmosphere that once felt heavy starts to lift. The tension that once pressed against your chest begins to release. And the battle that surrounded your decision loses its intensity. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. Obedience creates movement in the unseen realm. When you say yes to what God has been prompting, chains that were invisible begin to break. Resistance that felt immovable begins to weaken. Archangel Michael does not stand at thresholds without purpose. His presence signals that heaven responds to decisive faith. The moment you choose courage over comfort, the spiritual realm shifts in your favor. Acceleration replaces delay. That is one of the first signs of obedience. What once felt stalled begins to move. Conversations that were delayed suddenly happen. Opportunities that seemed distant begin to approach. Clarity replaces confusion. It is as if a fog lifts and you realize that what once seemed complicated was waiting on your agreement. The door did not just require your presence, it required your participation. Many people misunderstand breakthrough. They expect lightning from the sky or dramatic external confirmation. But often, the first evidence of breakthrough is internal peace. Not because the situation is fully resolved, but because you know you have aligned yourself with divine instruction. There is a steadiness that settles in your spirit. Even if challenges remain, you sense that you are now moving with heaven rather than resisting it. Obedience also restores spiritual authority. The doubt that once whispered begins to quiet. The fear that once negotiated begins to retreat. When you respond to God's prompting, you reinforce trust. Each act of obedience strengthens your spiritual confidence. You begin to recognize that you are capable of responding when called, and that recognition prepares you for greater doors ahead. Testimonies of sudden turnarounds often begin with a single decisive step. A phone call made, a commitment embraced, a release finalized, a prayer declared with conviction. What seemed like a small act becomes the trigger for a larger shift. Heaven honors movement. When you move, heaven moves with you. And what once felt locked begins to open in ways you did not expect. There is also protection attached to obedience. When you step through the door at the appointed time, you avoid the consequences of missing it. You bypass regret. You bypass momentum loss. You bypass the slow drift described earlier. Instead, you enter a season of alignment where doors connect to other doors. One yes leads to another opportunity. One act of courage leads to greater responsibility. Destiny unfolds progressively, but it unfolds more freely when obedience becomes your pattern. The supernatural shift is not about perfection. It is about direction. Once you choose the right direction, progress begins. You may still face challenges, but you face them from a new position. You are no longer standing outside the door wondering what might have been. You are inside, learning, growing, advancing. And there is a confidence that comes from knowing you did not let fear decide your future. Some of you will feel this shift almost immediately after you act. A phone call that confirms your step. A message that affirms your decision. An unexpected peace that replaces anxiety. Others may experience it gradually, but do not mistake gradual movement for absence of change. The spiritual realm often moves before the physical realm reflects it. Trust the alignment even if visible evidence takes time. Archangel Michael's role at this threshold is not only to warn but to witness your obedience. When you move, the battle that once surrounded you begins to dissolve. The resistance was attached to your hesitation. Once hesitation breaks, resistance weakens. That is why the pressure felt strongest before your decision. After obedience, pressure transforms into momentum. You may not fully understand tonight what your yes has unlocked. Some doors reveal their impact over years. But understand this: obedience never wastes a moment. Even if the path unfolds differently than you imagine, your alignment positions you for divine orchestration. The door you stepped through before it closed will lead to rooms you have not yet seen. And here is something important. What you are about to hear next will reveal why this shift is more strategic than emotional. There is a sealing that must take place before this night ends, something that anchors your decision and protects your alignment moving forward. You will be glad you stayed for what is about to be revealed. Type "I walk through" in the comments if you are choosing obedience tonight. Lesson code 642 is now activated. You just heard how obedience activates supernatural acceleration, and this mission is part of that movement. Every super thanks, every membership, every PayPal seed becomes oil in the lamp that keeps this prophetic fire burning for thousands across the world. The word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And tonight that promise is alive and speaking directly to you. When you give, you are not funding content, you are fueling destiny awakenings. I sense strongly that some of you are being invited to seal your obedience with a seed. Do not ignore that prompting. Go to the description, use the PayPal link, or scan the QR code now and release what God places on your heart. Let your giving tonight become a prophetic act that echoes beyond this door. The shift has begun the moment you chose obedience, but now it must be sealed. A decision in the heart is powerful, yet a declared decision is even stronger. Before tonight ends, before March 23rd fully passes into memory, there must be a sealing. Not a casual thought, not a vague intention. A conscious, deliberate declaration that you will not retreat from what you have stepped into. Sealing your decision means removing the option to turn back. It means closing the internal debate that has drained your energy for days, weeks, maybe even months. The door you walk through requires commitment. If you keep glancing backward, you weaken the momentum you just activated. Destiny responds to clarity. Heaven honors firm agreement. There is something about marking a moment that solidifies it in the spirit. When you speak it, when you declare it, when you align your actions with it, you create spiritual boundaries around your choice. You are telling fear, doubt, and hesitation that their influence has expired. You are telling yourself that this was not an emotional reaction. It was a strategic response to divine timing. Before tonight ends, reflect on what you have chosen. Did you commit to making that call? Then set the time and follow through. Did you decide to release something? Then remove its access to your life. Did you step into a new responsibility? Then begin acting like the person who carries it. Sealing the decision is not symbolic. It is practical. It requires tangible follow-through. Fear will attempt one final negotiation. It may whisper, "You can always reverse this later." It may suggest, "Sleep on it one more night." But understand this: you have already slept on it. The urgency of March 23rd was not random. It was the culmination of repeated nudges. If you allow hesitation to re-enter now, you risk reopening a debate that heaven already resolved. Refusing to let fear steal your destiny means recognizing its patterns. Fear thrives on delay. It grows stronger when entertained, but it weakens when confronted with action. The sealing of your decision is your confrontation. It is the moment you say, "I will not shrink back. I will not undo." Courage began. There is also power in community agreement. When you publicly affirm your decision, even in a simple way, you anchor it deeper. That is why engagement matters right now. Declare your commitment in the comments. Write what you are sealing tonight. Make it visible, not for applause but for accountability. When you put words to your obedience, you reinforce it. If this message has aligned with your spirit, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video as a sign that you are sealing your decision. Share it with someone who may also be standing at a closing door. And if you have not yet subscribed, subscribe now. These prophetic moments are time-sensitive, and being connected ensures you do not miss the next alert that could position you correctly. Engagement is not just support for a channel. It is a declaration that you refuse to be passive in destiny-defining hours. As the day draws closer to its end, imagine placing a seal over your choice. In ancient times, seals represented authority and finality. Once sealed, a decree was not easily reversed. Tonight, your obedience deserves that level of seriousness. You are not experimenting with destiny. You are stepping into it. There is something strategic about sealing just before midnight. Midnight marks transition. It separates one day from another. If you allow this day to close without sealing your decision, the clarity you feel now may begin to blur tomorrow. But if you seal it tonight, you cross into the next day anchored. A new day will not find you undecided. It will find you aligned. This sealing also protects the shift that began in Part 8. Acceleration requires stability. If you waver immediately after stepping forward, momentum can stall. But when you stand firm, acceleration continues. The supernatural shift is not sustained by emotion. It is sustained by commitment. Take a moment now. Breathe. Recognize what you have done. You did not let the door close without response. You did not let fear dictate your future. Now finish it. Seal it. Confirm it. Remove the exit sign from your mind. Before this night ends, say it clearly. This is my decision. I will not reverse it. Write it. Pray it. Act on it. Let heaven record it. The clock is moving, but so are you. And what you seal before midnight will echo beyond this date. The door you walked through is now behind you. The path ahead is open, but only because you chose to move when it mattered most. There is a distinct atmosphere in the final minutes before a door fully closes. It is not chaotic. It is not loud. It is steady, deliberate, intentional. And that is exactly what is happening right now in the spirit. The door that stood open earlier today is no longer wide. It is slowing. The space is narrowing. The opportunity that once felt expansive now feels precise, focused, time-sensitive. March 23rd is reaching its final stretch, and with it, the divine window attached to this date is drawing to a close. This is not fear-based language. This is truth-based urgency. When heaven marks a day, that day carries weight. When heaven signals a final opportunity before tonight ends, it means the grace attached to this specific timing will not linger indefinitely. You can almost sense it, the slowing. The urgency you felt earlier has sharpened into clarity. The distractions that once surrounded you have either been silenced or exposed. The debate in your mind has grown quieter because deep down, you know the moment is real. This is the edge. The final minutes before transition. Imagine standing in a hallway as a massive door slowly swings inward toward its frame. The movement is controlled. There is still space to move through, but that space is no longer generous. You cannot linger in conversation. You cannot remain undecided. You must either step forward or accept that the door will close without you. The slowing of the door is mercy. It is heaven allowing you to recognize the seriousness of the hour. It is not slamming shut without warning. It is giving you one final awareness that this is it. The alignment of preparation, prompting, resistance, and revelation has brought you here. And now the moment must conclude. Some of you feel a final wave of hesitation right now. That is natural. When something carries consequence, your mind wants reassurance. But understand this. If you have walked through the process up to this point, if you have recognized the door, faced the battle, discerned the voice, embraced courage, stepped into obedience, and sealed your decision, then you are not standing outside anymore. You are inside. The slowing of the door is not a threat. It is confirmation that you responded in time. For others, there may still be a step remaining. Something unfinished, something unspoken, something uncommitted. If that is you, the slowing is your final call. On tomorrow morning, not when it feels more convenient. Now, the last minutes of this day carry a weight that will not transfer into the next one. This is not about dramatic external events. It is about spiritual alignment. When the door fully closes, the season shifts. What was accessible under March 23 RD's grace will no longer be accessible in the same way. The opportunity tied to this date belongs to this date. That is why divine timing matters. There is also peace in understanding this. Once the door closes, there is no more debate. No more internal tension about whether you should move. The decision becomes settled, either because you stepped through, or because you chose not to. Closure brings clarity, but it is far better to experience closure from the inside of obedience than from the outside of regret. The sound of opportunity narrowing is subtle. It does not echo loudly in your ears. It is sensed in your spirit. The recognition that this chapter is finalizing, at this moment is concluding, that the invitation attached to tonight is completing its cycle. Archangel Michael's presence at this slowing door is steady. There is no panic in heaven, only precision. The door closes according to divine order, not human emotion. And that is why this message has been clear from the beginning. This is the final opportunity before tonight ends. You must not interpret the seriousness as condemnation. If you responded, there is assurance. If you stepped forward, there is covering. If you sealed your decision, there is protection. The slowing of the door does not erase what you did, it confirms it. It marks the transition from invitation to activation. But if you have delayed until now, understand the gravity. The final minutes are not symbolic. They are real. The window is almost complete. You are not being rushed without warning. You have been guided carefully through awareness, confrontation, courage, and sealing. This is simply the conclusion of the process. Feel the weight of this hour, but do not fear it. Let it solidify what you have chosen. Let it remove any lingering doubt. Let it anchor you in the reality that destiny moments are sacred because they are finite. The door is slowing. The frame is near. The transition is imminent. And in these final minutes, your response defines the story you will tell about March 23rd. As March 23rd reaches its final breath, there is a stillness settling over this moment. The warnings have been spoken. The urgency has been revealed. The door has slowed. And now, these are the final words being released over this day. Not words of chaos, not words of fear, but words of weight. Archangel Michael's message at the close of this date is direct. The opportunity was real. The window was precise. The alignment was intentional. Nothing about this day was accidental. You were positioned here deliberately. You were alerted intentionally. And your response hath been witnessed fully. For those who moved in obedience, there is assurance. Heaven records decisive faith. The unseen realm responds to courage. You may not yet see the full outcome of your step, but know this: what you activated today cannot be undone by tomorrow's doubts. The door you walk through is sealed behind you in protection. The shift that began in the spirit is already unfolding in ways you cannot yet measure. Do not expect everything to change overnight. Expect alignment to begin reshaping your path. Expect clarity to grow stronger. Expect resistance to weaken. The battle that intensified before your decision will not follow you with the same authority. You crossed a threshold, and threshold divides seasons. Archangel Michael speaks to the obedient with strength. Stand firm in what you chose. Do not revisit what you have already surrendered. Do not renegotiate what you have already committed. The power of your obedience lies not only in the step you took, but in the consistency that follows it. Destiny is not built in a single night, but it can pivot in one. For those who hesitated until the final hours, hear this clearly. This was not a game. This was not an emotional experience. This was a divine intersection. If you allowed the door to close without response, the consequences are not immediate disaster, but they are realignment. The specific grace attached to March 23rd will not repeat itself in the same form. The opportunity tied to this timing has completed its cycle. There is mercy in every season, but mercy does not override timing. What was available under today's alignment belonged to today. That is why the warning was strong. That is why the urgency was repeated. Heaven does not speak so clearly without purpose. Yet even in this final hour, there is dignity and truth. If you did not respond, acknowledge it honestly. Do not hide behind excuses. Do not pretend confusion. Growth begins with clarity. You may not recover this specific door, but you can learn from it. And learning positions you differently for the next threshold. Archangel Michael's final words are not only about closure, they are about awareness. You have now seen how destiny moments operate. You have felt the narrowing. You have witnessed the weight of timing. Whether you stepped through or not, you cannot say you were uninformed. And awareness changes how you approach future doors. To the obedient, there is covering. To the hesitant, there is instruction. To all, there is accountability. The night is nearly complete. The spiritual clock attached to this day is concluding. The door that once stood open is reaching its final position. And as it does, heaven seals what hath been decided. If you chose courage and carry it forward, do not minimize what you did tonight. Many stand at doors and retreat. You did not. That matters. That shifts things beyond what you currently see. If you chose hesitation, do not allow shame to define you, but do not ignore the lesson either. Destiny is serious. Timing is sacred. And obedience is powerful precisely because it is not automatic. Archangel Michael's presence at the close of this day signals one final truth. Destiny is not accidental. It is navigated through response. Every major shift in your life will involve a door. Some will open gradually. Others will appear suddenly. But all will require decision. March 23rd will not return in this form. The opportunity attached to it has now reached its conclusion. The door has completed its movement. What remains is the result of your response. Stand in it. Own it. Learn from it. Grow through it. Because while this door has closed, your story continues, and the way you handle this night will shape how you stand at the next threshold. March 23rd has reached its conclusion. The hours have passed. The warnings were given. The battle was revealed. The voice was clarified. The courage was required. A shift was activated. The decision was sealed. And now, the door has closed. But here is the truth you must hold on to as this message comes to its final declaration. A closed door is not the end of your story. It is the confirmation of a choice. Tonight was never about fear. It was about alignment. It was about whether you would respond when heaven marked a moment. And now, what hath been decided stands. If you stepped through that door before it closed, your destiny has shifted into motion. You may not see immediate fireworks. You may not hear applause. But in the unseen realm, movement has begun. Alignment has been secured. The hesitation that once delayed you has been broken. And there is power in that. There is authority in that. There is momentum in that. Do not minimize what you did tonight. Many feel urgency and ignore it. Many sense a door closing and convince themselves it will reopen. But you responded. You move it. You obeyed. And obedience anchors destiny in ways comfort never could. The next season of your life will carry evidence of this decision. It may unfold gradually, but it will unfold with clarity. If you did not step through, if you allowed hesitation to outweigh courage, do not let despair consume you. Let awareness strengthen you. This door may not reopen in the same form, but the lesson it carried is now written into you. Destiny will present future thresholds, and when it does, you will recognize the signs more quickly. You will sense the narrowing sooner. You will understand the weight of timing more deeply. Heaven does not abandon you because of one missed moment, but heaven does expect growth from it. The seriousness of tonight was not punishment, it was preparation. Preparation to understand that destiny is navigated through decisive obedience. As this message closes, there is a final declaration being spoken over you. Your life is not random. Your calling is not accidental. Your future is not drifting without direction. You are being guided through thresholds intentionally. Doors will open again in seasons ahead, but how you handle them will determine the level of influence, impact, and alignment you experience. For those who secured their destiny tonight, stand firm. Do not revisit what you left behind. Do not doubt what you confirmed. Walk forward with confidence. You are not behind. You are not late. You move when it matters, and that timing will echo into opportunities you have not yet imagined. For those who feel the weight of a misstep, stand up internally. Refuse to let this become a pattern. Let this night mark the end of passive living. Let it awaken a sharper awareness in you. The next time heaven highlights a moment, you will not hesitate the same way. There is assurance in this closing. God's plans for you are still purposeful. Archangel Michael's warning was not to threaten you. It was to protect you, to awaken you, to position you. And whether through obedience or through lesson, you have been positioned. The divine tone over this conclusion is not heavy. It is victorious. Because knowledge hath been given, awareness hath been activated, and destiny has been clarified. Now, as this chapter ends, receive this final blessing over your life. Type destiny secured in the comments if you chose obedience tonight. Blessing code 905 is now activated. May your steps be steady. May your discernment grow sharper. May your courage rise faster next time. May every future door find you ready. This was March 23rd, the final opportunity before tonight ended. The door has closed, but your journey continues, stronger, wiser, and more aligned than before. And remember this, destiny is not given to the hesitant. It is embraced by the decisive. As this door closes and your destiny moves forward, remember, This message reached you because someone chose to sow before you. Now it is your turn to become the answer for someone else standing at their March 23rd moment. The Lord says those who sow in tears shall reap in joy, and that promise breathes over every seed released into this mission. When you give through super thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are planting into a field of eternal impact. I feel this deeply. Your generosity tonight is not a donation. It is a declaration that God's voice will continue reaching the hesitant before their doors close. Do not delay this prompting. Use the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen and sow now. Step into the harvest.